Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut. Congressman Himes is a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, it's always good to have you. From an intelligence perspective standpoint, what are you most concerned about right now?
Well, you know, what you're watching, Katie, in this very, very lame duck is the decapitation of the American national security apparatus, right? We saw somebody who had not been in the Pentagon replace the Secretary of Defense. We've seen senior level turnover there. Apparently, we're now seeing this at the Department of Homeland Security. The people that you were just mentioning are the people who are on top of our cybersecurity. So, and rumor is, or the discussion is, that maybe Gina Haspel, director of CIA, may be on the list, maybe the Attorney General. You are seeing the decapitation of the American national security apparatus. Now, you know, I'm of the opposition party, so not all of those people, thrilled me all of the time. But imagine that. Imagine if you knew that the United States, and you're some guy in Yemen, or you're the Chinese, or you're the Russians, or the Iranians, or the North Koreans, and you knew that in this moment, the entire head of the national security apparatus of the United States had been removed. You would be tempted to, do something that you might not otherwise do. You would also know, Katie, by the way, that the incoming team, because of the temper tantrum being thrown by this president who has lost not narrowly, but obviously, you would know that the new team coming in will not have had a chance to get into the technical and detailed aspects of what it takes to run the national security apparatus in this country that keeps us safe.
What about the apparatus that is in place underneath the top officials that could get the axe? And you mentioned them, we mentioned them as well. You also included Gina Haspel at the CIA. Is the apparatus below them strong enough to withstand the next 2.5 months?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I've watched, as somebody who's charged with oversight of the intelligence community, day in and day out, the civil servants, the professionals, the intelligence officers, the uniformed military do the right thing, and to the extent that they could, to stay unpolitical. It's a lot harder to fire those people. And so, yes, I have a lot of confidence that our military will not follow illegal orders. That is not what our officers do. And I have a lot of confidence that just below the political appointee level at every one of these agencies, people will continue to do their job and do something that the president and his people and his enablers in Congress have stopped doing long ago, which is remember their oath to the Constitution and the notion that we are a constitutional democracy, not a cult of personality centering around one man.
Let me read you something from the New York Times. That paper reports one of the things that Trump is trying to do is declassify documents related to the Russia investigation, risking sources and information. Here's what they write. The hires come as Mr. Trump and some of his aides have been pressing to declassify documents that would describe sources of information inside the Kremlin. The president's advocates have long argued that these could prove that 4 years of allegations about the 2016 actions by President Vladimir Putin of Russia in support of Mr. Trump's candidacy were a hoax, despite the fact that Mr. Trump's Justice Department has indicted Russian military intelligence officers. How bad would it be if he started declassifying this information?
Well, and I've got a fairly specific sense of what that may be, and you frame it exactly right. President Trump's own Department of Justice has indicted Russian intelligence officers for the attack on our election in 2016. This is not a debatable point anymore. What this is ego stroking around a president who's never been able to let go of the fact that at the end of the day, the Mueller investigation, though it found lots of misbehavior, did not find chargeable conspiracy. We all know that to be true. But your question is the key one. It will not be hard. It's not hard for the Russians. It's not hard for anybody else. If you know what we know, it's not hard to figure out how we know it. In other words, let's imagine that we got a readout of a meeting and there were only 4 people in that meeting in the Kremlin. It is really not hard, particularly if you're the Russians and you're willing to do things that we're not willing to do here in the United States to figure out who our source is. And so there's a reason Gina Haspel is opposing this, which is that once the president makes this public, first of all, that intelligence source, which could be very, very important to our national security in the future, far more than whatever ego gratification the president might get by releasing classified intelligence, that source is no longer available to us. And by the way, that source is probably getting a bullet in the head if it is in fact a human source. If it's a technical source, that technical source goes away, and we are that much more vulnerable and insecure because of it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.